Hello and welcome to the Book Monster. This video might look kind of weird. I'm probably not going to be looking at the camera because I'm holding my phone sideways, and I have yet to figure out quite how to do that and look at the camera. But eventually I will. The Book Monster is it's going to be a channel where I review books. I'm an avid reader. I want to become an author. I've wanted to be an author since I was as long as I can remember. So this is the Book Monster. Welcome to the Book Monster, and I hope you enjoy my reviews. I don't have any particular kinds of books I'm going to review. I read all kinds of books. I prefer mysteries. I guess not chick lit, but contemporary fiction and kind of detective novels. But I read all kinds of books. The first book I'm going to review, though, is called Dead Heat by Dick Morris. This book is about a chef named Max Morton who lives in the UK, and he owns a restaurant called the Hay Net. He also, in his spare time, does catering at a racetrack near his restaurant. There was a very special event the day that Max created his dinner, and that night and into the next morning, very, very, very many people got ill. And, of course, naturally the blame landed on Max at first, to the point where they were shutting down his restaurant and thinking about pressing charges on him. But the next day, when Max was supposed to cater another event, there was an explosion in one of the royalty boxes at the racetrack. The police believed it was an Arab prince was targeted because 2 days before the event, the Arab prince traded places with the company that was there now, which was called Delafield Industries, which was from Wisconsin, obviously in the United States. Many people died in the explosion, and many others were injured. But Max very quickly put together that there was something suspicious, that his food was poisoned, and he found out how his food was poisoned. I'm not going to give that away, but he found out what was poisoning his food. He had not found out who yet, though. So after the explosion, he decided to start to investigate, and I've got notes, but I don't really want to look at them. I'm so sorry. The more and more he investigates, the more and more his life becomes in danger. Several things happen to him that are very obvious that somebody is attempting to murder him. He goes to Wisconsin to talk to one of the widows, and she tells him some things that he didn't know and gives him some items. And one of the items he got, well, that turned out to be very bad, because the man who was in charge of those items, he did not want anybody to have them or know anything about them. Unfortunately, Max, well, let's just say he was stubborn, and he did not take the advice of his girlfriend or several other people, and he went to a polo club where this man was very high up, and he confronted his associates about, it was a silver ball, that's all I'm going to tell you. He confronted them about the silver ball, and he nearly got murdered for it. He nearly got murdered several times during the investigation. This is a book that it has many twists and turns. The ending is very surprising. Obviously, the one man who throughout the book they say is bad, but the people who were working with him you are completely surprised by. I was completely surprised. It was a really good book. I didn't think I was going to like it because although I like mysteries, I am definitely not into sports. I'm not into racing, but there was not a lot of emphasis on sports or racing. It was kind of just in the background. The fact that it had happened at a racetrack, and things like that, and part of the crime that he eventually found out about did involve horses, but kind of in a secondary way. The book, I read it in 2 days. It was a page turner. I just kept wanting to know what happened next, over and over and over again. I wish I had a copy of the book to show to you. Unfortunately, I borrowed it from somebody and I had to give it back to them. But it is called Dead Heat by Dick Francis, and his son is a contributing author. If you want to find the book, obviously you can go by the name, but the cover is red and it has 3 horses on it. So if you want to look for this book, which I suggest you do if you like mysteries and just trying to figure out exactly what's going on, because throughout the book you have no idea. I don't know what else I should say about the book. The characters are very engrossing. You become to very, very much like Max, and you become to very, very much like his girlfriend. His lawyer is also hilarious. His author brings a lot of humor into the book, and that's another thing I'm a big fan of is humorous books. So I love the fact that his author was in it, or his lawyer is in it, as kind of the comic relief. It's a pretty long book. It's not extremely long, but I would say probably about 400 pages, maybe a little bit less, but I got through it very quickly. I couldn't seem to put it down. I kept wanting to read it and read it and read it. Max, I give him very much credit. He did not give up when most people would have. Most people would have just written it off. But, he had his future on the line. They were going to charge him. There is a criminal law in the UK, which I believe is real. It's the Food Safety Act of 1990, and you could be prosecuted underneath that and possibly serve jail time if you are proven to have poisoned inadvertently or purposely your customers. And, that was the driving force at first about why he began to investigate, because he wanted to save his reputation. But the more and more he found out, the more and more he wanted to know what was going on. And then when things started happening where his life was threatened many, many times, he almost died several times. He just became more and more obsessed, not obsessed, but determined to find out what happened. I honestly can't, other than the evil people who did the things they did, I cannot think of one character that I didn't like, or who was flat, or just wasn't a good character. Everybody seemed, everybody in the book flowed well. The book flowed well. There was nothing where it really dragged, and that's one thing I hate about books, is when they drag. I have a tendency to skip forward in books if they drag, and this is one book that I definitely did not skip. I wanted to know more and more and more about what happened. I hear that Dick Morris actually is a very well-known suspense writer, although before he wrote Dead Heat, he wrote one other book. It's called Under Orders, although I have not read it yet. But before that, he was on a 6-year hiatus. And most of his books do seem to or they say most of the books have to do with racing, but just like in Dead Heat, they're kind of in the background. It's not all about racing. It's not all about sports. If you don't like sports, you don't like racing, you would still love this book. And I want to read more of his books because they were very interesting. I am very happy for how things worked out with Max in the book. And although, unfortunately, in the end, you do not really find out very much about what happens to some of the people who were involved in the crime. I mean, you assume that they go to prison for the rest of their lives because they murdered about 13 people and attempted to murder Max multiple times, among other things. And I think that was the only thing I was disappointed about in the book. But being the book monster, and I call it the book monster because I love books, and since childhood I've loved monsters. So, my rating system is going to be monster paws. So I would give this book 4.5 monster paws out of 5. Basically, probably just because of the ending. You do not find out, it doesn't really come to a conclusion about what happened to the people who perpetrated the crime to begin with. Other than the people who, I don't want to give anything away, but other than the people who it's obvious what happened to them. I want to review a lot of books. I'm hoping to review one a day. That may be a little more than I can handle because I do have another YouTube channel. And I plan on starting a third one. But I will review at least 3 books a week. I promise you that. So I hope you enjoy this channel. I hope you enjoy the book reviews. If you have any books that you feel I should read or review, or anything like that, please leave that in the comments. I love to read, and I'm open to reading pretty much anything. I'm a fan of all different kinds of books. Not too big on historical books or books that happened like in the 1800s and things like that. But if you believe that they are extremely good, I will have an open mind and read them. I didn't plan for the video to be quite so short, but this is my first video for this channel, so it's kind of a test. But thank you for watching, and I hope you like and subscribe and leave comments, whether positive, negative, or suggestions for books that I should review and read. And that's going to be all for now, but hopefully tomorrow I will be back with another review. I will probably be reviewing a book called Come Home by Lisa Scottoline, although I'm not 100% sure that that's the book I'm going to review, but I'm leaning towards that because that book was completely engrossing, but I'm not going to go into that because I'm going to review it very, very soon. So, thank you for watching, and Dead Heat receives 4.5 monster paws out of 5, and I encourage you to read it. Look and see if it's on Kindle. If you have Kindle Unlimited, look and see if it's there. And Amazon, if you don't know, and I tell this to everybody, you can find books a lot of times for sometimes even a penny plus shipping and handling, if they're used. And I've ordered many books from them that were between a penny and $2, and absolutely none of them have come in bad condition. They have been in great condition, and I paid a lot less than I ever would have paid if I had bought them, from directly brand new. So, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a beautiful evening, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Thanks, and goodbye.